Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. I'm Don Wedekam. I'm the director for the ACES program, Aerospace Commerce Economic Services. And we are holding our annual meeting here this morning. Quite frankly, we used to do 3 to 4 events per year with ACES, and we've called them annual meetings. We've called them advisory councils and various different titles, but they were informational meetings designed to get the Oklahoma aerospace community together, talk about what we're doing, solicit feedback from all of you as to things we ought to be doing, and kind of use that to help direct our program. As everyone is painfully aware, of course, the last year has been filled with many challenges. We traditionally have tried to utilize all existing aerospace events to do our ACES meetings, things like Aero Day at the Capitol, Tinker in the Primes, the Aerospace Forum, and then what we would typically do would be to take a couple hours at the end of those events that were already well attended and have our ACES meetings. Like many as those have been delayed and shelved over the last year, we haven't really gotten the ACES crew together for all of you, and so we decided the time was right, and we would do this virtually. And recognizing that those events I mentioned are starting to come back. I know planning for Tinker in the Primes is going on right now, and we will revert to our previous method of operation, i.e. using those gatherings to this team together as well. But for now, we thought that we needed to try to pull together an ACES meeting, a virtual one. Our morning is very simple, and that is to just lay out some information of what's going on in the Oklahoma aerospace industry and solicit feedback from all of you. So it's open. We do have some slides and some topics we're going to go through, but those are strictly there as a method for fostering discussion. So quickly, by way of introductions, I'm going to go around the horn here, but I think most of our aerospace team. Of course, I'm joined this morning by Jeff Camp, who's the state aerospace director, and our other ACES team members, longstanding members, Pearson and Ryan Tillison, who've been with the program since its inception back in late 2018. And then we've also been joined recently on the ACES team by Brent Wright. And each of those are going to cover some specific topics as we go through the morning. And then ACES has always had a very strong partnership with the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission. And I will tell you that partnership is as strong or stronger than it's ever been. And we're pleased to be joined this morning also by Grayson Ardes, who's the OAC director. So with that in mind, we have several topics we're going to cycle through here. And I am going to turn this over to Grayson, who's going to talk a little bit about the roots of the ACES program and the aerospace industry within Oklahoma. Grayson, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. As Don indicated, my name is Grayson Ardes. For those of you that don't know me, I replaced Vic Bird, who retired at the end of last year, and Vic sends his regards. He's enjoying retirement. As Don indicated, we've had a great relationship with the Department of Commerce for many decades now to help promote, advocate, grow the aviation aerospace industry, which is the state's second largest industry, based on a lot of the publications and information that you have seen in recent memory. That partnership with Commerce and how do we go about promoting and advocating for aviation aerospace goes back many, many years. There have been many plans, many discussion topics, many reports issued, and they've all had their place in history and have all been a long and windy flight path. It's almost like we were flying the old days, going from radio beacon to radio beacon. It was not direct GPS route on how we got here today. But where we are at today is in a place that we've never been before. with this ACES crew. And really, it's a great story. And that's kind of what I want to share with you all today is how ACES came about and how we got here today. So on this screen, on this slide, you'll see several of the reports. Out of these reports came things like the engineer tax credits for aerospace, the sales tax exemption for MRO activities, the need for a group in government to help advocate for and promote aviation aerospace and recruit business to the state. And all these reports throughout the years, they still have great recommendations that we can follow. And I know the ACES crew and Jeff and others will talk about this later in the presentation, but a lot of those are still being used to this day. Certainly, it's a great opportunity. And sometimes to see where you're going in the future or where you need to go in the future, we need to look to the past, see our successes, see some of our challenges, and springboard well into the years to come. Next slide. So we can go through a couple of these recommendations. I don't want to read these to you. Obviously, these are things that are of primary importance to the aviation aerospace industry. A lot of these things we've been taking on. They're in red. I think is the top thing that we all experience on a day-to-day basis. This is the glue that really brings all of aviation aerospace together in Oklahoma, and that is we must have an adequate workforce. If we don't have adequate workforce, none of the industry, none of the companies that call themselves aviation aerospace here in the state are going to succeed. Everything else on the list is obviously supportive of various different industries, small and large, government and private. So protecting our military assets, we've known about that for decades and decades. We must protect our military assets, and we've done a really good job of that. Destination of choice for advanced technologies to support the aviation aerospace industry. We must become a center of excellence for engines and other sustainment and items. And that really just goes to show you that, yes, we've succeeded in a lot of these things, and we need to continue succeeding in these things into the future. Next slide. One of the things you'll see here is maintain our good relationships. Go back one. There we go. Maintain good relationships with state government and congressional delegation. This ACES meeting that we're having here today, and all the ACES meetings, all the Aero Days at the Capitol, Tinkering the Primes, the Aerospace Forum, are all about maintaining that good relationship with the leaders of our state and the members of our congressional delegation. Without their support, we would definitely struggle to advocate as an aviation aerospace industry. We must continue to coordinate our efforts among these organizations to support aviation aerospace. This whole idea that we have Team Aero Oklahoma, that's really what this is all about, making sure that we're all on the same page. We all have our niche, we all have our positives within our individual companies, within our individual sectors. But we have to be Team Aero Oklahoma. We have to do this together. I know we've heard the story about you could put all the economic development resources of the state together, and we still don't exceed the economic development resources of the city of Houston. And that's really important that we all continue to be on the same mission, that we're on the same page, and that we have a collective voice here in Oklahoma for aviation aerospace. And really, out of all these reports, there's been several different iterations of aviation aerospace councils, support organizations, both in government and private, 501c3 organizations. And really, here's where the ACES story begins. This is where the ACES story really happens, because taking all those recommendations out of those reports going back to the early 2000s and winding the path that we've winded today, moving forward, and trying to shuttle aviation aerospace into the great beyond, we've really done a pretty good job over the years. But we have to appreciate what we've created, and we have to protect what we have today in the ACES team. So in 2006, the Center for Supplier Excellence Act was created the Oklahoma Aerospace Institute. I know a lot of you remember the OAI. That went on for several years. It was created within OCAST. Received some appropriated dollars its first year. It was transferred to OAC in 2008. We also added the CASQ, the Center for Aerospace Supplier Quality Mission, at that point in time. both programs operated for many years, and it was always a great partnership. We had OU, we had OSU, we had Career Tech, we had Department of Commerce. Everybody was chipping in funding wise, and it was almost like an ad hoc group because everybody was just chipping in the monetary amounts that they had available in their budgets. Obviously, as budgets started crunching due to recessions or state budget hits, whatever it might have been, we struggled. And so in 2011, the partnership funding really kind of ceased to exist and the OII mission ended. There were several people, Ben Robinson, Chip Carter, Alicia Pearson was part of that back in the day. All great individuals and all very knowledgeable of aviation aerospace, but we just didn't have the money to keep the OII mission going forward. We didn't have that state appropriation. In 2013, we added the word defense to the CASCU mission, so it became CADSCU. Obviously, that was a small tweak, but also very important in leading down the road to where ACES was today. In 2017, we kind of started running out of partners for the CADSCU mission, and really the funding, given that we're a non-appropriated agency here at the Aeronautics Commission, the funding ceased and CADSCU ended. And that is really where ACES got its start. Next slide. Insert Senator Racino into the picture in 2016. He's obviously a very big advocate for aviation aerospace. He had learned of us ending the CADSCU mission and started learning about the OII mission that had gone on prior to his time in the legislature. And given his advocacy for aviation aerospace, he was very excited to try and find a way to breathe new life into these two programs and find a way to move forward so that we could support the aviation aerospace industry as a whole, as a state, and really take advantage of all the positive things that were happening. 2018, the OII and CADSCU missions were retooled and rebranded and became ACES as we know it today. They were moved into the Department of Commerce and received their first appropriation since the OII mission was in the OCAS system. We partner together with ODOC to ensure the success of the ACES program. It's been a wonderful partnership over the years, as Don indicated. We couldn't ask for better partners. And today, we are the best version of a coalition of organizations to see the aviation aerospace industry continue to go forward. And I know Jeff's going to hit on this, trying to make aviation aerospace be the #1 industry here in Oklahoma. The reason I tell you this history lesson today is that this wasn't easy. This wasn't done overnight. We must be proactive in supporting the ACES mission. We can't take it for granted. It may not always be there, and we have to be very strong advocates to ensure that it sustains for many, many years and many decades to come, because we've seen what happens when we don't have an ACES organization. We've seen over the years what happens when it goes away, and the support in state government for aviation aerospace goes with it. So we must be proactive in supporting that ACES mission. We must do everything we can to be on the same page and sing with the same voice. Next slide. And I just wanted to end with this slide today, the Oklahoma Aerospace Solar System. You can see on here the various different entities that have been supportive of aviation aerospace over the years. This is really, really important because some of these are still there, some of them are not. What it really means is we have this partnership between industry, education, government, and that we can actually implement and realize all these partnerships for the common goal of supporting the aviation aerospace industry. With that being said, thank you for allowing me to present today. Hopefully this history lesson provided a spark in your mind to help us move forward to continue to support the ACES mission. And thank you to the ACES team for allowing me to go back in time and share a little bit about the history of how we came to where we're at today. I appreciate it, Don and crew.
Grayson, thank you so much. We appreciate your participation this morning. As noted, the relationship, I think, is between the Commerce Department and the OAC has never been stronger than it is today, and I thank you for that. So I thought it might be beneficial, and much of this is restating the obvious, but I thought it might be beneficial to just spend a minute talking about 2020 and where we find ourselves today. What we tend to lose sight of sometimes is we think about the pandemic, which has now been going on for a year, we tend to lose sight of the fact that in the Oklahoma aerospace industry, we had actually taken kind of a major hit even prior to the pandemic, and that was with the 737 MAX grounding that occurred immediately before that, because a good bit of our commercial aerospace industry is centered around the MAX. If you think about, of course, American Airlines as an operator and a maintainer of the MAX, and companies such as Spirit, who saw a lot of their production business affected by that. So we were already in a challenging situation when the pandemic hit, and that hit the Tulsa Metroplex particularly hard, because if you look at the two major aerospace hubs, and believe me, we all recognize that Oklahoma aerospace is far more than just Tulsa and Oklahoma City, but it starts with those hubs. And if you look at those, Tulsa is predominantly commercial aerospace based and commercial airline aerospace based and around that industry, where Oklahoma City, and there are exceptions in both cases, but Oklahoma City is primarily built around the aerospace defense sector, primarily at Tinker Air Force Base. And so the Tulsa market was hit particularly hard. And that remains today, although there's been a significant rebound slowly but surely. Oklahoma City market on the other hand, rebounded fairly quickly. I remember touring some of the shops in Tinker back in June with the commander, and I was pleasantly surprised at how they had come back very quickly to full production at Tinker, and likewise production had rebounded for those private companies who support Tinker and surround Tinker Air Force Base. The Oklahoma City market rebounded quickly. The Tulsa market's been a much more difficult struggle, but again, we've seen progress. And of course, the results around the rest of the state have been somewhat mixed. Quite frankly, dependent upon whether we're talking about businesses that support the defense side or the commercial side of the aerospace industry, because that's really been the nature of the effects that we've seen nationally to our aerospace companies and industries. Within the Commerce Department, within the ACES team, we have adjustment too, just like everybody else did. Obviously, many of the trade shows and events that we were used to attending in person, we saw cancellations there, but we've rebounded quickly with virtual events and are very active in the same circles that we were before. And we're starting to see now some plans being made for in-person events coming back too. And so we'll be participating in those. One of the more significant steps we took in the last year regards contract support. And I mentioned on the slide here that we led a contract to a company called SAPAC, which was designed to really help small businesses that were interested in doing government work, but didn't know how to crack that nut. And it is a tough one to crack, and I understand that. And so we led a contract to try and help some of our small businesses. It's significant because that's part of our ACES charter, but I think it's more significant because it's the way that we on the ACES team and in commerce really see the opportunity to help continue to expand the services that we provide to our Oklahoma aerospace industry through additional contract support. We're not going to expand, the internal commerce team. There's no desire to do that, but I do see the possibility, because we've been successful with this initial contract, of using that vehicle to expand the range of services and the depth of services that we can provide to all of you. Working that in the year ahead as well. We launched a workforce development initiative. We've talked about that now for 2 years. We've really talked about the need for improved workforce development, across our industry for a long time. This is not an Oklahoma problem. It's a national problem, and we all recognize that. But the real issue for us is, what can we do within the confines of the Oklahoma state boundary to help ourselves? and along with Career Tech and several other industry and state partners, we've launched a very aggressive development initiative in that regard. And then the last thing, and this is kind of my segue, I guess, over to Leisha, is yeah, a year ago, I don't think most of us would have expected we would still be in virtual isolation 12 months down the road. I think that's probably a true state for most of us. There may be a few seers out there who saw this coming. I certainly didn't. But I will also say this. I would not, had I known that at the time, I would have not have anticipated that we would have been as successful as we have been over the last 12 months in continuing our drive to both help internal Oklahoma aerospace companies to grow their business and to recruit companies from outside the state to come into the state of Oklahoma. One might have thought, at least I would have 12 months ago, that would have come to almost a standstill, and that has not been the case. Again, after a period of adjustment, I think the team's been quite successful at continuing the work that we had begun back in late 2018 to expand our Oklahoma aerospace industry and in our recruitment efforts. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Leisha to tell you a little bit more about some of those expansions that where we've seen some success. Leisha?
Thank you, Don. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see so many faces joining us this morning, and so many familiar faces especially. We're just excited that you're here. And if my computer is making a lot of noise, I apologize. We've already discovered that that's a problem sometimes on these Zoom calls. But as Don mentioned, ACES' primary mission is to grow Oklahoma's aerospace industry. And as you know, 2020 was a challenging year, to say the least. And we've definitely had our share of aerospace companies who have and continue to feel the effects of the last 12 to 16 months. However, we've also had some great aerospace wins and some new expansions in the state. And we're really excited to talk about a few of those. 9 wins for the year that we're really kind of bragging about. New aerospace and defense businesses and several expansions, as we mentioned. They're generating about $576 million of capital investment to the state through the end of this. And the best part about this aerospace growth is the higher than average annual wages that aerospace jobs pay. These 1,100 plus jobs will pay about 74% higher than the state average. So, you know, that's one of the reasons why the legislature wants to continue to diversify the state into aerospace, is because of this great industry and the salaries that are paid and the quality of jobs. We wanted to highlight a few of our new companies that are listed here. An engineering and technical services company that's headquartered in Houston, Cimarron Software Services, they expanded their operations to the Oklahoma City metro area last winter. In June, Skydweller Aero, a U.S.-Spanish aerospace company, announced the establishment of their company's world headquarters and their engineering operations in Oklahoma City, and they're testing an integration site in Ardmore. And we can't wait to see Skydweller in our skies. And even though we're counting PAS MRO as an ACES win, we really need to give some credit to Bump Grant at CTS, who helped recruit them. They were ready to totally move their operations from California, and who wouldn't? And last fall, we were excited to welcome them to a brand new building in Bristow, Oklahoma. PAS MRO is a bearing return to service and component repair and overhaul company. And our most recent company expansion from Hawaii is North Star Scientific. They design, develop, test, and manufacture state-of-the-art electronic systems. They officially opened their office in Oklahoma City in early January, and I'm pretty sure that their Hawaiian transfers didn't probably appreciate last week's sub-zero temps. I know that when we visited them a few weeks ago, it was cooler, but not that cold, and already struggling just a little bit. Many of you probably read the press announcements for these companies, but really I wanted to tell that the commonality among them for choosing Oklahoma was our business-friendly environment, our lower cost of doing business, our availability of resources, and our workforce opportunities. Many of them have been really pleased with not only ACES, but just the community, the ACES, the OCAS, the OAC, the Career Tech, all of those kinds of resources and services that are available to them. Obviously, the engineering tax credit for the aerospace industry, as well as our training for industry program through Career Tech, are great incentives that are offered to existing companies as well as new companies. We really hope we can provide some live opportunities for everyone to network and more formally welcome these new companies soon, and kind of see their facilities and get to know everybody a little bit better. Next slide, please. Speaking of events, we're happy to be scheduling a few more virtual events, but even more excited to be planning for some live events in 2021. To start with, we're working with the United Kingdom's Department for International Trade, and next Wednesday, we'll be hosting a Doing Business Abroad, Aerospace in the UK and Oklahoma webinar. And then the following week, for qualified companies, our SAPAC team that Dawn mentioned will be presenting a webinar on full and open DoD competition review. More details and registration information for both of these events will go out this week. Some of the live events that we're getting ready to, or that we're planning for, is the first one's MRO Americas in Orlando at the end of April. And yes, they say they are going to host that event. Right now, we've got about 11 business and community partners who plan to join us or sponsor with us. By that, Commerce hosts an Oklahoma booth at various domestic and international trade shows, and we invite companies and communities to partner with us. You basically get a place to call home during the shows without all the hassle and expense of having your own booth. And plus, it's a great way to promote Oklahoma aerospace together. So these are some of the events that we're planning this year to take partners with us. And like I said, MRO Americas is the first one. AUVSI Exponential, they just announced that they're going to be a virtual event or a hybrid event. They're going to do virtual in May and then a live in-person event in August. And at Oshkosh, the Space and Science Symposium, NBAA base, and we're hoping that our first international show will be in October at MRO Europe or the Avalon Air Show in Australia in November. So if anybody's interested in more information about these shows or would like to partner with us, we'd be glad to answer any questions you may have. Don already mentioned Tinker and the Primes, that they're planning that in August. And a couple of other events that we're looking at is the Air Force Association Show and AUSA. In the invitation that you all received for this event, there was a link for the aerospace trade show opportunities. So take a look for that, or you can find out more information in our ACES advocate or on our social media sites, or reach out to you for more details. But like we said, we're just excited that we're headed in the direction for some live events and some more activity. We know that will foster and continue to grow Oklahoma's aerospace industry in a variety of ways. But speaking of our ACES advocate and our great social media presence, I'm going to let Ryan Tillison now take over with his IT update. So thanks,
Leash. Appreciate it. As Leash said, great to see you guys all joining us this morning. We appreciate the time and support. A couple of housekeeping notes real quick. After the presentation, sometime this afternoon, we will distribute the slides and any other relevant documents to everybody that tuned in. Included in that, these are all links on this slide here. So as I mentioned things, if you want to dive a little bit further into them, or subscribe or follow any of our social media. These are all live for you to use after today's presentation. So to get started, I'm kind of the in-house computer guy for our team with marketing and communications. So some of the newer things that we've rolled out recently is an aerospace and defense services webpage on the Commerce website. When ACES started, we had a standalone website, and we didn't really represent the partnership, and not even the partnership. We are a division of the Department of Commerce, and we didn't represent that accurately, and we felt that the dynamic of that and the way our team works is very important to represent. So by moving our website into the Commerce website and representing that relationship better, we think that it's given us a lot more exposure from the folks that are familiar with a Department of Commerce, but aren't aware that in Oklahoma, we have a designated aerospace and defense unit. And so we're seeing a lot more traction on our online presence just from doing that quick little switch on the website. In addition to that, we just rolled out our 2020 Aerospace and Defense Report. It'll cover a lot of the same statistics and progress and success that we're covering in this morning's presentation, but it's a nice looking PDF that you're welcome to print and distribute amongst your peers. The next new development in our IT world is actually a full commerce umbrella effort that ACES just thought it's very important to bring some attention to while we have you this morning, and that's the Economic Development Project Portal. So we really wanted to set this up to streamline the RFP response process for Oklahoma across the board. We, as the Department of Commerce, try to be as transparent as possible and ensure that every possible community across the state that is eligible to respond to an RFP gets the opportunity to do that. And we have not found an extremely efficient way to ensure that that's the case every single RFP in the past. And this portal right here is the answer to that. Every project that Commerce is involved with at the appropriate time, all RFPs will be posted there, and every stakeholder across the state, every EDO across the state will be notified that there's new opportunities available on that portal. That being said, we're really excited about it. It is not 100% live yet, but you can click that link after today's presentation and get a quick preview of what's coming in the next couple of weeks. Moving on, a project and a development that we've talked about and socialized several times in the past is approaching a going live stage. That is the Oklahoma Aerospace and Defense Manufacturing and Supply Chain Portal that we've spoke about in the past. So just to cover a succinct explanation of this product and what you guys can expect for those of you that aren't familiar or that can't quite remember. This is a free product for all Oklahoma small and medium aerospace and defense companies. It's one of two contracts that the ACES team has let. Don mentioned the first one with SAPAC. We have done this one with a company called Sustainment Technologies that is another veteran-owned Oklahoma small business. We're very excited to partner with them on this project. And the point of both of our contracts is to provide a technological competitive advantage to our aerospace and defense companies across the state, and particularly to increase their visibility and competitiveness in the world of DoD spending. And so this portal will serve as an online marketplace for our companies to go on, uniquely represent themselves, and become visible to the DoD, specifically Tinker Air Force Base, and to other large manufacturers and OEMs across the country and the world. When this goes live on April 1st, it'll have the typical features you'll expect as far as an interactive map on the Commerce website, searching abilities, but something else that we're excited to bake into this product is what we're calling a state resource page. So one of the most difficult things for small businesses across the state is to identify the right person or agency to connect with regarding a specific issue or concern they've got. And in this product, in the vendor profile area, you're gonna be able to find a resource page with live links and contact information for all of these state resources and public resources that aren't necessarily a state resource that we think would be valuable for you to understand what they do, what they provide, and how they can support your business. And we're looking to bake all that in to a very easy to navigate page for you all to have. I think that's about it to cover that. Like I said, we're going to distribute all this after today's presentation. So feel free to reach out. There's contact information on the back slide. If we can fill you in on any more information about any of these new products or resources that we're putting together and releasing for you guys. The last is just a shameless plug for our social media and communications. We've got an email newsletter that I'm sure most, if not all of you, are subscribed to, of which your invitation to this event came from. If you're not, there's a link for you to subscribe there. We've got our LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter pages. We just like the opportunity to get to share the success of Oklahoma aerospace and defense companies. We want to be a sounding board for our resident companies, universities, organizations that are supporting us and being successful growing aerospace in Oklahoma. But we also want to empower our companies by sharing, valuable information through these channels. So we think it's worth your while to follow if you're involved on social media, and we appreciate a like or a share of our posts to amplify the message we're trying to spread. So that being said, I'm going to pass it off to the newest member of the aerospace and defense team at Commerce, which is retired Brigadier General Brent Wright. And he's, through his time in the military, been very involved with the state legislature. And so he's going to provide a legislative update for the current cycle in session right now. And thanks for your time.
Thanks, Ryan. It's been a great couple of months on the business development team in support of ACES. I've learned a lot about commerce and most of all the talent pool that works very hard every day to ensure Oklahoma is a top 10 state for business, particularly in the aerospace and defense sector. So I just have to thank Director Kissling and Jennifer Springer for the opportunity to grow the aerospace and defense sector, Jeff Camp and the rest of the ACES team for the warm welcome. Quick legislative update includes a backdrop that includes a very comprehensive strategy to make Oklahoma the preferred place to do business. But due to time constraints, I'm just going to highlight 3 categories, 5 bills broken down for you on the slide, all in the Executive Director's intent and priorities of modernization and simplification of incentives and create an environment where economic growth can occur. So the first bill is Senate Bill 936, authored by Senator Lee Wright, and it basically simplifies and standardizes the quality jobs incentive programs. There's 5 incentive programs currently, and the effort is to consolidate those and have them easy to find and easy to participate in. So it standardizes the eligibility requirements, the industry's wages, years, and out-of-state sales. So that has been obviously started on the Senate side and is working way through the process and has had great support, and I think is headed toward the Senate floor and then obviously over the House after. The next category I have is investment incentives, and we'll start with Senate Bill 609. Senator Coleman is the author, and there's a companion bill on the House side, 2172. With Representative Hilbert being the author over there. And 609 based on the recommendations of the Incentive Evaluation Commission, will reduce the cost of incentive to the state and improve targeting to industries that receive the exemption, making it easier to market the incentive to companies. And next would be Senate Bill 594 with Senator McCourtney as the author. It would eliminate the new jobs tax credit, increase the investment level for the investment tax credit, which has not seen an increase in the investment requirement in 40 years. So it's just an update to that incentive. And then the last category I would call maybe development incentives is one descriptor, but innovation I think is maybe a better descriptor that these two Senate bills attempt to innovate and raise capital for two particular areas. One is Senate Bill 915 with Senator Howard. It's back a business bill, and so it basically incentivizes venture investments in Oklahoma and provides for an income tax deduction for accredited investors who invest in Oklahoma-based venture and growth funding for the support of Oklahoma-based startup businesses. And then finally, we have Senate Bill 922 from Senator Howard, again, and it's an Invest in Oklahoma program, and it is for qualified public entities may expand their portfolio, their investment policy to include up to 5% of their principal to invest in a fund called Invest in Oklahoma Fund. So hopefully that is a good smattering of or feel of what's going on in terms of Commerce's effort to increase the landscape and do business in Oklahoma easier. I want to refer back, the agency's legislative liaison is Leslie Blair. And if you have any questions at the end I can't answer, I'll have to refer to her. So thank you for the time, and I'm going to bat it over to Jeff Camp, I think.
Thank you, General Wright. I appreciate it, sir. First of all, I'd like to say good morning to everybody, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know you're all got jobs to do and money to make and things to get done, so we appreciate you joining us today to circle back with us. Succinct and direct shout out to the rest of my team, Don, Brent, Leash, and Ryan. This is the hardest working team in the aerospace and defense industry. I couldn't be more proud. And I hope when you see Director Kissling around, you would share the same sentiment. I will shamelessly ask for your endorsement. And I know Director Kissling's on with us today, so looking at you, boss. Thanks again so much for taking the time today. What I wanted to do this morning is to roll out our updated ACES Aerospace and Defense strategy. And it's been a couple years since this strategy was updated. The initial strategy had some very valid points. We have 12 pillars that we are legislatively mandated to execute on. And our strategy aligns very closely with those pillars, if not directly. What I want to do is go over and introduce to you the short list or the most prioritized pillars of our strategy. So obviously the state's aerospace and defense industry cluster is extremely vast and it's highly complex. You know, as Don mentioned early on in the briefing, it's more governmental DoD centric in the central part of the state and more commercial and structural centric in the eastern half of the state. To maximize our efforts, our team, the A&D team, is focusing on 4 broad-based objectives that will ensure success in the coming years and hopefully set the stage for a prolonged period of success. In short, the four basic pillars are workforce, advanced technology startups, the innovation, establishing an innovation cluster, and then of course always engine sustainment. I'm going to dive into each one of these a little bit to explain a little bit more what I mean by these things and hopefully shed some light. After this presentation today, like Ryan stated, I will make this strategic document available to everybody, and it will be hosted on our webpage within the Department of Commerce. So, point 1. workforce, we must be able to provide the infrastructure to recruit, educate, and train the workforce needed to sustain and grow our aerospace and defense industry within the state. The workforce will always be number one. I know our EDO friends are on board today, and they will tell you that economic development is workforce development. It always has been, it always will be. The number one question we always get asked is, will I be able to find the engineers? Will I be able to find the technicians? And the short answer to that question from us is always yes. We've made great strides in expanding and refining our talent pool. And as a matter of fact, today, as of today, the Aerospace and Defense Team, or ACES, since its inception, has added over 5,000 jobs to our state's industry. We need to continue to seize this oxygen-rich environment to grow our garden of talent. Elon Musk stated when referring to SpaceX, his number one limiting factor is finding quality engineers. Rocket scientists are pretty smart guys, so I'm sure that talent pool is difficult to recruit from. Aerospace and defense is no different. We do an amazing job of generating engineering graduates, not just aerospace engineers, but mechanical engineers, software development engineers, propulsion engineers, stress engineers. Those are very important people. So any notion of expanding the Oklahoma A&D industry begins with the need to provide employers with a properly trained, educated, and capable workforce. Now, in order to effectively grow the aerospace industry to expand the servicing workforce, this will require effective coordination and standardization between the higher education system and the technical training providers of the state. So Eddie Compton's on board with us today. I believe Dr. Marcy Mack is as well. Big shout out to them at the Career Tech System. They have been producing and continue to produce quality technicians that feed our system. Now, one element of this expansion is the need for properly trained and skilled mechanics, especially those with airframe and power plant licenses. Thank you, Eddie, again. We appreciate that. The certification skilled subsets of those licenses are also needed. So we need sheet metal techs, composite techs. One that's recently showed up at our doorstep that we weren't really aware of is precision soldering for instrumentation. That is also necessary. Now, I would like to see a standardization curriculum across the state if that would be possible in the coming years. That's a big ask. It's a really big ask, but I think that would lead to a streamline of qualification presentation to potential employers when they come to the state and ask us about our technicians. Now, the second element of training and education is properly qualified and sized professionals, specifically in multiple engineering spectrums such as cybersecurity, like I mentioned, software disciplines, multitude of various different engineering, hybrid propulsion. Those things are still greatly needed. Greater use of internship programs are also necessary to get those skilled engineer students married to cutting edge quality employers that are working on true problems for the next generation of aerospace and defense. Now, finally, the cats and dogs, I like to call them, there's a complementary cadre of disciplines out there that also need to expand. Now, these are people like airport management, logistics, security, things of those nature. OSU and OU both have great degrees in those programs, and those are very promising programs. As a matter of fact, I'm a graduate of one of those programs. But those are also supporting degrees that need to be that must continue to grow to support the oncoming advanced technology platform and ecosystem. On to pillar number 2, the advanced technology startup infrastructure. Now, we've built a reputation as a destination of choice for A&D. The word is getting out, and that's a great thing. I would love everybody on this call today to pat themselves on the back because you guys are part of the team. You've helped broadcast the message of aerospace and defense and how great Oklahoma is to grow that. However, there is something that is starkly true because of our state's population and GDP are smaller than the likes of Houston and the DFW metro area. We quite frankly don't have the resources to constantly compete against resource-rich states. So In order for Oklahoma to be successful, we must play to our strengths. What are our strengths? Agility, connectivity, flat leadership structure. It's 3 or 4 steps away from any of you to the governor. You have a direct pipeline to get to him if you want. We tout that to our businesses when we recruit them. That's the very nature of our job, is to make sure that that resident companies are never very far away from the people that can impact change that will help them. So to win these advanced tech companies, these startups that we're targeting, we need to feed them what they need most, and that's capital and opportunities. Now, obviously, as a resource limited entity, we can't, the state cannot specifically directly feed them capital. So how are we going to do that? Well, we need to establish and develop a capital rich environment through which through incentivization, we can establish venture capital firms and equity capital firms. We're doing that right now with some of the legislation that Brent spoke about, Senate Bill 922, Senate Bill 915. We incentivize those companies to come here and give them an active opportunity to invest in some of these advanced technology companies. And then we'll again marry them up to academia. So we are giving them what I would call I like to call it the love triangle, but we marry up opportunities between academia, commercial providers, and public opportunities. If we can do that, then we will successfully win. Now, this is very close to our third pillar that I'll get to in just a moment, but that is the secret to success. That's how we put ourselves in the catbird seat, not just for 5 years, but 10, 20, 30 years. We've put down that layer, that base layer of a state that has a reputation for growing advanced technology and the supporting technologies, and we will win. A&D ecosystem is undergoing a technology transfer of the likes that we've never seen before. It's driven by technologies such as electric propulsion, batteries, automation, software, data, and other innovations. There's a picture of ACES batteries on there. It's a lithium sulfur battery. It's the first battery to reach over 400 watt hours per kilogram. And just so you guys know, that's enough power and light enough for it to fly. And it's only going to get better. Well, that really makes electric flight possible. It really does. I think we're less than 20 years away from a single aisle, 100 passenger 737 style. It's coming. It's not going to stop. UAM is coming. So we need to latch on to these technologies, these underlying technologies, recruit those companies and get them here. The sky dwellers, the forward thinkers. These are great companies. That's the future. That's our future. That's what we need to be after. So success in our state's recruit efforts with these startups will require a coordinated campaign of our intent to become the nation's leading state in advanced tech incubation and development. That's exactly what I'm driving after. That's the point I'm trying to drive home. Constant communication among executors of public resources, private capital, state academic research institutions. That's strategic pillar number 3 that I'm getting into in a second. And existing supply chain providers will result in increased situational awareness to coordinate tactical execution of key additions to the A&D sector. That's all of it. Well, this is going to require constant reevaluation, health check, make sure we're moving in the right direction. We want feedback from all the stakeholders involved. That's all of you, everybody on this call with us today. Hey, Jeff, Don, Leash, Ryan, Brent, I think we should go take a look at these guys. Or we need people that will help us make this or give us this product. We spend all of our time taking a look around to see if we're hitting all the right chords. But there's only 5 of us. So if you know something, say something. If you need something, say something to us. It's very helpful. Very helpful. Strategic pillar number 3, we must pivot to recruit and attract startups of advanced technology, specifically focusing, like I said, on the underlying and supporting technologies. To do this is that love triangle I was talking about. I'll find a more professional name soon, but we've absolutely got to establish the ability to ease the burden of a 3-way partnership between us, private commercial providers, and academia. When I say us, I'm talking about public entities, DOD, USAF, Office of Naval Research, AFWorks, SBIR, STITR programs. We have a great infrastructure in place already. We just need to strengthen it. And I personally believe, and I'm not completely ignorant, or not completely educated to this fact yet, but I'd like to understand a little bit more about making an easier, streamlined approach to technology transfer to ease the burden for commercialization. I believe that needs to happen. So in the 21st century, public and private research universities are the seed capital for creating knowledge that fosters science and technology-based economic development. That's what we're after. That's what we're after. And then finally, our fourth and most important strategic pillar is we want to position Oklahoma to be the center of excellence for engine sustainment enterprise. We have a very strong engine sustainment enterprise. Obviously, those of you familiar with Tinker Air Force Base, you understand that is Engine Town Power Plant USA. And to expand that, the central role of the state has to play in continued growth of the engine sustainment market. How we do that, how we continue to grow that is we broadcast and tell everybody that we know that there are cost advantages to moving to the state of Oklahoma. I'm sure most of you are well aware of these. We've already stated them several times. You know, business friendly, freedom, flat leadership. Overhauling and maintaining engines is a very costly business, and it's fraught with technical challenges. We've got world-class leading engine sustainment, engine repair, blade repair companies here in the state now. The more we can bring to the state to fill the gaps, and what I mean specifically by fill the gaps, we have people right now that can repair blades, that can do dimensional checks, that can do coatings and servicing. Where are the gaps in those? We need people that can repair discs. We need people that can overhaul outsource from Tinker if necessary, when and if necessary, gearbox overhaul, things of that nature. Mint Turbines is a classic example. CTS, they're another great provider of turbine work. Tomcat Aviation here in Oklahoma City Metro, another great provider. We need to support those people by bringing the back shop, the low-level work underneath the work that they do to support them. Again, the underlying technologies that support them. That's what we're after. So against the backdrop of these four pillars, our team will take aggressive action to expand what is already the state's second largest industry and fastest growing, capitalizing on the robust industrial base, strategic location, and favorable business environment. Now, like I stated before, these are the four most important pillars, but they should in no way be considered all-inclusive. As I stated earlier, we need each and every one of you to help us. Consider yourself part of Team Aero Oklahoma, because you truly are. I think it's very realistic for us to believe that we can make the aerospace and defense the #1 industry in the state in a matter of 10 years. That's not out of the realm of possibility. We're making amazing strides. We've got a bright future in front of us, and the right people are here in now. That's all of you. So again, with the shameless plugs, if you would mind, join us, sign up for the ACES Advocate, follow us on social media so we can keep in touch. We can tell you what we're up to. I like to call it rat hunting. We can tell you what rat hunting we're up to. You can tell us what kind of needs need to be addressed, what gaps in the ecosystem that you can see, and share with us that will help us define our direction. It's a constant feedback. We can't do this alone. We need you guys. We need every one of you. So that wraps up the four pillars. I'd like to talk a little bit now about looking ahead. As I stated, our recruitment efforts right now are hot and heavy. We've got several very promising prospects in front of us. We're hoping to make some very nice additions and announcements very soon. But again, like I stated, we need input from you. Oh, I did want to say this one thing. I'd like to brag for a second on Leisha and Ryan. In the last 45 to 60 days, we have opened up 9 new projects. Those are 9 new companies that are either coming to Oklahoma or recruiting or expanding to Oklahoma. We are on a tear. We're very, very busy, and it's great. Business is good, right? So we love hearing that. things are really good, and that's because the word is getting out. But we cannot rest on our laurels. We must constantly fight to stay in front. Part of the reason we've been so successful is because we've got very strong budgetary support from the state legislature, from the governor. The governor and the lieutenant governor are very active and engaged in our recruiting efforts. It's very impressive to companies. Point blank, I told one company that we were recruiting that I would bring the governor out to see them, and their eyes were as big as saucers when he showed up. Their exact words were, "I didn't know you guys were serious." And I couldn't have scripted this any better. The governor said, "We're very serious about aerospace and defense." So kudos to the Gov for a big crack swing home run out on that one. I think that one made quite the impression. As RT and stated, we will continue the expansion of contract support to help our state constituent businesses secure more DoD work. That is one of our primary tenets, our legislatively mandated tenets. We will continue to grow that effort, do everything that we can to help the state businesses that are already doing work with Tinker or other DoD entities grow that business or establish new lines of business with DoD or other entities. And just for edification for everybody on this call, obviously Tinker is a programmatic base. I believe they've got over 20 some programs that they execute programmatic actions, meaning they can make purchasing and repair decisions. It should be known to everybody on this call that Fort Sill now has also two programmatic activities, meaning they have the ability to award work. Most of their stuff is geared towards Army Futures Command. So if you have products or if you have work that you think that you would be beneficial to some of the Army's Future Command needs, please get in touch with us and we can help you get connected to Fort Sill and Mephisto down there. As a matter of fact, General Wright and Ryan are both taking the lead on Vista and Fort Sill. So reach out directly to myself, anybody on the team, or directly to them if you have questions. Again, also as Ryan stated, the A&D supply chain portal is still underway. We're expecting release by the end of second quarter of this year. I truly see that as a visionary tool that will help expedite some of the business-to-business prospecting and matchmaking, for lack of a better term. So I think at this point, that's pretty much all I wanted to get out to say today. I want to thank you very much for your time. I think we have a little bit of time left over at this point, so we can open it up for if anybody's got questions. Ryan, Don, are we taking questions on the chat?
Yeah, Jeff, we can take them on the chat or we can take them in open discussion, although I think we still have 66 people on, so that might get a little cumbersome. So I guess the preferred method would be on the chat. I'd ask Ryan to kind of be the moderator here as we get questions in, although we'll all see them, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So folks, anyone has a question, feel free to type it straight into the chat box for our acknowledgement. And if you're brave enough, feel free to turn your video on or unmute yourself or both and go for a question. Or if you want to raise a hand, there's the reactions button at the bottom of your screen. You're welcome to raise your hand and we can call you out for a question or two. Ron, Gott?
Yeah, good morning.
Your hand up, go ahead.
Yes, sir. My question is the tech schools that are not engaged in offering courseware for aviation, are we engaged in those tech schools? Wes Watkins.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, Wes Watkins Technology Center. I've been trying to work with them over the last couple of years, trying to get them to understand the significance of offering aviation courseware, something like they do in Shawnee.
Yeah,
sure, definitely understand.
Might be. I see that Eddie Compton is on as well from Career Tech, and Eddie, you know, that might be one that I'd like to hear your comments on. I mean, I know the general answer, but you might be able to add a little more specificity if you
Sure,
could.
let me take that. little guard
Thank you.
off there on the video. Yeah, we would love to come out and talk to you about the aviation program. I can tell you that we have to do a cost benefit ratio analysis on that because the A&P licensing program is pretty cost prohibitive for some of the tech centers. But the FAA's changed the rule in just the last, thanks to Senator Inhofe, and when they did the corona relief thing in December, changed the laws on the FAA, and we're waiting for that guidance to where we might be able to do high school programs at non-A&P schools, and then they could transfer over to A&P schools to finish out. We're also working with Mid-Del Tech on an experimental course where we have a 600-hour general non-A&P aviation course, and then we could customize to the communities across the state to meet their needs. So I would be more than happy to come out and talk with you and see what your needs are. And I'm pretty sure we can help you out. And if we have a couple grants we're working on as well on transportable aviation training, where we might be able to have assets that are cost prohibitive for certain areas that we could have at a general location, and we could deploy those out to take care of those industries across the state. So that's a short answer, but I have a lot more that I could discuss with you. But if there is opportunities and you need training for your workforce, please get with me, and I'll make sure Leisha has all my contact information. I wouldn't even attempt to try to figure out how to put it on here. She knows.
Hey, if it's all right with you, we'll go ahead and put your email and phone number.
Yes, please do.
Okay.
And get with me and we can talk to you about that. And there's just a myriad of ways we could provide that support.
Okay, thank you.
I did go ahead and share everyone's contact information for all the speakers into the chat. It is also on the final slide of the PowerPoint that we'll disseminate this afternoon to everybody. I'm going ahead and adding Eddie's contact information to the chat as well. And if anyone else has any questions, feel free to, again, raise a hand or just unmute yourself. If we don't have any questions here in another few minutes, we don't want to keep everyone on here in silence. So if we don't get another question in a few minutes, we'll go ahead and wrap.
I do want to give a quick shout out to the workforce development group that we have put together in trying to establish a state workforce plan. Marcy Mack and Greg Smith and Ryan Gertson have all kind of led that. We've got over 55 industry, agency, higher ed, common ed, all working on that effort to help develop an aerospace strategy. We're really excited. I know that we're working with Career Tech on creating a website or a landing page that's going to share pathways, and it will be a resource for not only for us to use, for economic development, for businesses to go in and take a look at the programs that are out there, but also for schools and teachers and students and parents to take a look at. So we're really excited about that. And then also some career videos, and we're going to be going around to individuals that at various spots around the state and creating videos to kind of clips about how they got where they are, and that you can start here and end up here, or you can start here and go here. And so just the many pathways of getting jobs in aerospace. So we're really excited about that project that's taken place, and appreciate everybody that's been involved in that.
So Ryan, since we don't seem to have any other questions, I'll just make one closing comment, and then I'll turn it over to Jeff for a final word. First off, I want to thank everybody for the time and attendance this morning. We weren't sure how many we would have, but it was clear from the number of folks that signed up and that signed on that we needed to do this, even virtually. So our intent this morning, as I said at the start, was very simple, and that's just to disseminate information, get everybody back together again, and reconnect. And I think we've done that. We are intending to get back to, our former battle rhythm, which is to connect with existing aerospace events. The next one that looks like it's on the horizon would be Tinker in the Primes, although we're also attending nationally MRO Americas at the end of April. So that won't be an ACES meeting per se, but some of you are participating in that as well. So as I said, we want to get back into kind of our normal rhythm here, and I think we're doing that. So I thank you all for your time and attendance this morning. Our contact info is on there. If you have individual follow-up questions, we're here for. Okay, that's exactly why we exist. Over to you, sir, for a closeout.
Thanks, Don. Just echo Don's sentiments again. Thank you so much for the time today. We really appreciate it. We anticipate getting in a much more aggressive, outward-facing rhythm moving forward. We're very excited to get back out on the road and recruit more companies and get to more shows. Come join us. And thank you so much for being a part of the aerospace team to advance Oklahoma's A&D industry. We really appreciate it. With that, I'll close. Thank you so much again. And we look forward to working with you guys in the coming days and months.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.